I welcome us to today's tutorials, How to Write Projects or Research Reports by Eze Sunday Uchenna. So let's begin. What is project writing? From how I brought it out here, I said project writing is a form of reporting a research work. Then what is research? Research means to search again. Then what are we searching again? We are searching for knowledge. Why do we search for knowledge? Why do we think that is essential for us to search for knowledge? We search for knowledge to fill gap. And what is this gap? Gap between what is and what ought to be. That is what we are seeing currently and what we are actually expecting to be happening. So what is and what ought to be. So that gap that exists between what is and what ought to be is the reason why we make inquiry, is what brings about curiosity and make us to struggle in order to gain knowledge. So research are conducted to solve why-related issues. What are these why-related issues? These why-related issues are issues that are caused by the gap that exists between what is and what ought to be. So these gaps, now let us look at it. So this gap now that exists between what is and what ought to be is what we call research problem. And the paramount aim of a research work is to solve a research problem. So now we have seen that this research problem is a gap that exists between what is and what ought to be. Let's say, for example, I am a teacher teaching in a secondary school, and I discovered that at the end of my class, that after teaching, that my students don't do well in the biology subject I'm teaching. What is that my students are not doing well. And what ought to be is that at the end of my class, when I'm done teaching, that my students are expected to do well. They are not doing well. That raises a why question. That shows that there is a gap. There is something that happened between what they are actually giving me at the end of the day and what I'm actually expecting. So that thing in between is the gap. And that thing in between is a why-related issue, and that is our research problem. So a situation whereby I said, okay, now I want to find out why is it that my students are not performing the way they ought to perform. Then what I'm about to do now is that I am about to do what? To run a research. So to solve this problem, the researcher undergoes a series of systematic processes utilizing research methodologies which will yield results or findings. These findings are new knowledge about the phenomena that will bridge those gaps that necessitated the researcher to embark on that study. So what are we saying in essence? A situation whereby I run this research, I carry out this research, and I'm able to discover the reason why my students' academic performance is poor, even after I have taught them and I believe I have taught them well. Then I have found out. So when I found out the result, the reason why that happened, then that is my finding. So therefore, the process of reporting all the systematic processes employed in answering those why questions brought about by the observed phenomena is known as project writing. What do we mean? When I decide to document all the processes I applied, all the methodology I employed in order to find out why my students are not doing well, that is project writing. So when you are writing a project, what you're actually doing is that you are actually writing the processes, the methodologies on how you collected your data, analyze your data, and then your finding. So all those things that you write in your chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 5, what you're actually doing is that you are taking record of all the processes you applied in order for you to do what? arrive at a conclusion. So that is project writing, and that is what I am going to teach you.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you will not miss out in the next episode. Thank you for watching and God bless you. See you in the next class.